add shades or shading elements to our initial panel. And for that, what we'll be doing is we'll be coming over here, and there are three different options: SkinDesigner shading, SkinDesigner shading box, SkinDesigner shading louver. So we'll be discovering this all, and once I just put this in, I started to see an element just happens here. Okay, you see this? It automatically comes in, and this one, the name of this component is SkinDesigner shading. So it's asking me about the width. So if I put the width, you'll be seeing that now we are having this shading element here. Okay, or what we can do here is to change the thickness of it. I don't know, like 0.100 or 0.1000. Yeah, maybe too much, but we want to make these things simple as possible. Rotation, it's a different kind of a feature here. We can add a number here. So let's say 0 to 360, and when we put this in, it's not changing anything, but as it goes in and out, you see it rotates from the panel's axis. Okay, or axis. Offset from wall, we can have this and then show you what that does. You want to offset it from the wall, or if you have something in between as an element, but I think in our case it's unnecessary. So vertical orientation, it's another toggle that we can use here if you want to have it vertical or horizontal. Okay, you can remember this from our previous playlist in which we're creating this in more conceptually. And like the window shade, if again this is true, now we are going to add our shading only onto the window rather than the panel. Layer name, we can indicate a layer name. Default is P shading, which is already here. We can change that as well. And we have like from left, from bottom, from right, we can have 0.5 here, 5000. So you can play around with this since it's on the panel itself. Okay, or we can do the same for the from bottom edge. We can just cut it off a bit if you want to. Okay, or from opposite edge. What this does is I'm not sure what this does, but let's see. Oh, okay, so it's basically bottom edge and the other edge as well. So once we do this, we are actually cutting it from the top, from the bottom. Okay, and once we change this, you'll see that it happens here, and we can make it, put it here and move it all over the place. But again, like, if you may want to use this or not, it's completely up to you, but let's leave it as classic for now. Okay, and if you change it to window shade, again it's going to be shading the window. So this is only the shading. So maybe what I can do is pull out the scribble and then say, okay, how we are going to do this, add to group, and then we'll be saying shade rolling, and leave it as it is. The next thing that I wanted to test here is the shading box. Copy this and paste, and just put this in. And I'll be just connecting this to my shading system. And when I add this as my shading system, we don't see much of a thing. So one thing that we can check here, if like again for the width, we can put 2 meters, and you see it creates sort of a box around my glazing. The thickness is the thickness of the material. We can again put this guy in. It's gonna get a bit thick, so we want to make sure this is nice and loose. Offset from the wall. If you want to offset it from the wall, we can have another parameter for that, right? Like if it's offset it from the wall or offset it from the window. I don't think they work at the same time, or offset from the window. What this does is inside the window, so we can leave it as it is now. Oh, I see what this does now. Offsetting from the window is basically offsetting it as the size of it. So if we make it like this, so how we offset this shading box around our window. Offset from panel, we can put this in, and it's basically offsetting from the panel rather than the window. I think it overrides, so we can stick to the window for this one. Shift corners is if you want to like shift the corners of this box outside of them, is provide two custom shaped shading elements. Default is 0, 0, 0 on all corners. So it's basically if you want to change this, we need to change this with this set of vectors. I don't think we just need it for now. And the layer name is the layer name. As default, it's P shading again with the same one. So what I can do here is add this to adding this to this group. All right. The last but not least is the louver system. So again, like if I connect this one to my shading system, automatically will add my like louvers and the rotation and everything. As you see here, again we can pull out explore these parameters. Okay, and you see it's the width of the louvers. The thickness can remain the same. Spacing, let's say 0.25 in every 25 centimeters, let's say, or even every meter. You can decide on this. Rotation, we can say 30 degrees again, or even less or more. Vertical orientation, if you put a toggle here, oops, not this one, if you put a toggle here, we can offset this from the wall, but we want them to be on the panel. Vertical orientation, if you want this to have a vertical orientation, you can make it a vertical orientation. Now it's oriented vertically. Window louver, if we make it true, it's gonna be only on the window surface. The layer name is the layer name. We know, like from the left edge, right edge, bottom edge, like we grab a thing. It starts from these, like let's say 50 centimeters from the left side of the panel, or let's say from the top, it starts from again 50 centimeters from the top, but this it can stay as it is. What I can do next is to group these guys and then copy this and paste it and then say louvers and have it inside. But let's pull out a stream filter for this and connect this shading system and shading system and the shading system. But let's add another slot. And what I'll be putting here as my value list is going to be this time value list type of shading, I would say, and edit this and say shader is going to be 0, 1, and 2. Let's fix this first. And the first one is going to be shadow box. The third one is going to be louver system. So I connect this all in. Maybe push this on the left hand side, have some space in, connect this to shading systems, and now it's a shader, it's a shadow box. And once we go to shader, once we say horizontal vertical orientation, it's going to create this as vertical orientation. When we are in the shadow box, we are going to create this shadow box around our panel. And with this being said, this is the end of video 3. In the next one, we started to check how we can put this panel onto a surface so that we can have a distributed panel system on a desired surface or facade.